Laura Reese, now the Director of Border Security and Immigration at the Heritage Foundation, and Alfonso Aguilar is the former chief of the U.S. Office of Citizenship. Thank you both for coming on. We appreciate that. So, Alfonso, I'd like to start with you and a response from AOC. Should there be temporary protective status for illegal migrants, as we've had some point out who have served on overseeing border policies? They pointed out that word temporary doesn't really exist in the way that you might think in terms of TPS.
Oh, absolutely. The history of TPS is that it has been abused. And frankly, once it's granted, the federal government historically has continued to extend those benefits to the individuals who received it a long time after the original crisis in their home country has passed. Look, there's increased crime, violent crime in Ecuador. It's now one of the most violent countries in the region, but it's not. But it's generalized violence. It's not necessarily armed conflict, and we're seeing that in other countries in Latin America as well. I don't think that's a reason to provide TPS to over 450,000 illegal immigrants from Ecuador here in the United States. I think this is also AOC and other Democratic members of Congress trying to fearmonger. They're saying, we should grant TPS because a hostile administration is about to take over. That's not true. You just heard Tom Homan say that deportation is going to be about targeted arrest of criminals. But if you listen to this press conference, they're talking about indiscriminate deportations, going after everyone. And that's exactly what Tom Homan said it's not going to be about. It's going to be targeted arrest primarily of criminals. So they're using this also to fearmonger and create an environment of fear.
Yeah. And again, it's a short time frame where this might happen as Biden serves out the remainder of his term before a Trump administration comes in, which would likely overturn any sort of last-minute request for TPS. Meantime, we've been covering the murder trial for the illegal migrant accused of killing a Georgia nursing student named Laken Riley. According to a witness in the trial, Laura, Jose Ibarra, again the suspect, took a taxpayer-funded flight from New York to Georgia just 6 months before he allegedly murdered Laken Riley. The flights, of course, being implemented under the Biden administration. A live look here, we're learning the prosecution had rested its case, calling its final witness on Tuesday. The defense began presenting its case today. Just your reaction to the development from this trial and where you see this headed.
Well, we have often talked about the flights at taxpayer expense when illegal aliens first enter the country through the southern border and are flown or bused wherever they want to in the U.S. This is the first case where I've heard then an illegal alien then got a second free flight to a different city that they wanted to go to. But the point is that Americans have been paying tens of billions of dollars every year under the Biden-Harris administration to these hidden NGOs, non-governmental organizations that have facilitated mass migration to the U.S. and throughout the U.S. And it has been an utter waste of our taxpayer money, and to our detriment, whether it is loss of life in the case of Laken Riley and far too many other people, the fentanyl that has come in, the crime, the overcrowded schools, overcrowded emergency rooms, the lack of housing, and on and on. So the mass deportation can't come soon enough to bring sanity and ability to function to our communities.
And that is a promise from President-elect Trump and those that will serve in his administration. A major campaign moment there, and a mandate is the word I'm searching for American voters. Laura Reese, Alfonso Aguilar, thank you.
Thank you.